on, everybody? Real quick, I'm gonna share a little story with y'all. This one is probably gonna be funny to some of you guys. Okay, so let's get into how this happened. Okay, first of all, I went to the hospital. When I went to the hospital, I was diagnosed with HIV by the nurses. And I'm gonna get into how this happened. And of course, it's not true. It's actually not even really that funny, the part where I say they diagnosed me with that. But it is a funny story, so let's get into it because it's actually fucking crazy. Okay, okay. Usually on Thursdays, when I get out of work, I go to the barber shop and I get my hair cut or my shape up, because Fridays and Saturdays are usually too busy and I don't feel like sitting in the barber shop bullshitting and, you know, shooting the shit for 3 hours out of my day when I get out of work. So I go on a Thursday because it's a little bit less crowded, even though on Thursdays it's still kind of busy, because in New York most people get paid on Thursdays or Fridays. So with that being said, the barber shop is still kind of jumping it live on a Thursday evening. Okay, so I go get my hair cut, whatever, and I'm chilling. Now, I have like really bad allergies, and sometimes they get really bad to the point where people think I'm crying, and they don't realize it's just me having an allergy attack. And after I leave the barbershop, I go home, and usually when I leave the barbershop, you know, I like to rub my face and, you know, wipe my eyes, because my allergies are kind of flaring up from getting my hair cut and spraying that stuff in my hair and all of that. Sometimes I tell them no, because you know, if I'm already feeling allergic, or if that's even a word, I'll tell them nah. So I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Nah, I'll pass. I'm gonna be scratching my head and all that. So nah, I'm good. So on that day I was cool and I was chilling. I felt like shining a little. So them, you know, hit me with the sheen and all that. So my barber was like, yo man, I want to try this blackout shit. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, man, nah, I'm good. So he was like, nah, let me try it, man. Let me, you know, he was telling me how, you know, he wanted to get into doing it, this, that, and the third, and he thought it would look fly. So, you know, he used all the right words. I'm like, you know what is a blackout? Because girls tell me all the time that they think I have that. So what is that? So pretty much he explained to me a blackout is when people get their hair cut. Now I'm going to give you a good example of this. If you want to Google somebody while you're online to see what a blackout is, you're going to get the great example right here. Google Shorty Low, the rapper from D4L. Now some of y'all gonna be like, who, ha? Some of y'all gonna know who I'm talking about. Google Shorty Low from D4L, and you're gonna see how his beard is just mad perfect. So that's what a blackout is. So I was like, nah, because people will already be thinking I got that in my hair, whatever that is. So he's like, yo, let me just do the line up with it. I'm like, you know what? You wanna do the line, fine. If I'm gonna have a straight butter ass line, hell yeah. So he took this like tube of what he said was natural organic stuff, and then he put it on like a brush, and he just like brushed the edges of my line, and as I see, the line got darker and it became more defined, and it was straight. So it was properly popping, don't get me wrong, it was dope. So I was like, all right, cool. So I go home, I'm feeling myself, you know, I'm feeling myself, you know. So I'm like, all right, cool, you know, do-rag this bad boy up, and when Friday morning hit, I get to attack the ladies with all this beauty, you understand me? But anyway, nah, I'm just fucking around. But yeah, so alright, I go home and I start like, you know, feeling a little tired, and I feel my allergies kicking in as usual, but this time they were a little bit more serious, like there's not stopping. Usually if I rub my eye, it'll calm down. Rubbing my eyes, it's getting worse. Starting to scratch my eyebrows, scratch my forehead, is getting worse. It got so bad that I started using my keys, and I started scratching like the top of my head with my keys. So I went to go lay down, and when I woke up the next morning, my eye was like really red. My right eye was really red, and my eyelid was slightly puffy. So I was like, damn, what's this? So I immediately went and found my mother, and when I found my mom, no, I'm telling that wrong. I went to go see my mom because I had to give her something, and when I went to go see her, she was like, oh, look at your eye. And I was like, yeah, I know, it's the allergies. And she was like, oh, okay. So she was like, just do me a favor, when you get from work, come back over here and let me see you. So I went to work, you know, I got out of work, I go back to my mom, and when I go back to my mom, she's like, oh my goodness, your eye looks messed up. And I'm like, yeah, because it was getting puffy and puffier while I was at work. but I had on glasses at work, so people couldn't really tell because I was wearing shades. People just thought I was high as a motherfucking kite at work. You know, other than that, they just thought it was normal. They just thought I was on some kind of drugs. They thought I thought I was cool, or, you know, douchebag wearing shades in the building, you know, whatever people think. So with that being said, so she was like insisting that something was wrong, and she was telling me how I'm not leaving until I take some allergy medicine. So she gave me some Benadryl, but when I took the Benadryl, I was sleepy. So she was like, you gotta make sure you don't go back outside. So I was like, all right, mom, cool, you know, mommy duties. So I took the Benadryl, and sure enough, after about 2 hours, I started getting really sleepy. So I went to sleep. Now, my eye was by this time really fucking bothering me. So by the time I go to sleep and wake up, I can't even open my fucking right eye now. My whole right eye is swollen shut. I could barely see out of it. Everything's blurry. Mad pus and shit is coming out the side of my eye. It looked like I was half zombie. So I'm like, oh shit. So my mom comes and she's like, let me see. So I'm like, so her and my sister start making jokes, talking about how I look crazy. They look like I got beat up by Mike Tyson, like I was an ex-boxer. It was bad, man. It was real fucked up. My mom was like cracking mad jokes on me. So she's like, you gotta go to the hospital right now. You could lose your eye. Like, you know how moms do. So I was like, all right, I could lose my eye. Of course, my crazy dumb ass gets in my car and drives to the hospital. So, of course, she's telling me all the things to say and do. She's making sure that I call her when I get there. Every time I get an update, call her. So I get there. So now I got on a hat. You know, I got on a hat and my shades because I'm trying to hide that I look like a fucking mutant. So I get in the hospital. Immediately, people are looking like, who's this douchebag with the shades? So I'm like, all right, here we go with this again. So they thinking that because it's a Friday night, I must have came from the club or something. They're thinking like something like an STD or some shit like that off the rip. I could tell. So people are looking like, what's this young guy doing here? Like, what he want? Nothing wrong with him. He just got on shades and a hat. Well, that's what's wrong with me. So I'm sitting there, whatever. So they, you know, they call me. They look at me. They're like, what's going on? So I'm like, yo, I don't know what's going on. Y'all got to tell me. I take off the shades. They're like, oh my God. Now, remind you, this is supposed to be a professional hospital. They're like, ooh, oh. So immediately they start calling more people over and they're looking at it. So they're looking at my eye and they're like, okay, so take off your hat. So when I took off my hat now, I had like this line of pus across my forehead where it was just going down the whole right side of my face along across my hairline. So they're like, oh my God, you got shingles and da-da-da-da. How could someone your age have shingles? So I'm like, what the fuck is shingles? So immediately while they're talking to me, I start hitting my phone. I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, listen, they tell me I got shingles. So my mother was like, shingles? What the fuck? Nah. She's like, you don't got shingles. She's like, call me back when they find out what's going on. I'm like, Mom, they telling me I got shingles. She's like, you don't have shingles. She's like, you're not old enough to have shingles. You don't have shingles. So my mom is very knowledgeable. So I was like, okay. So I hung up the phone. I'm calm now because I'm like, what the fuck is shingles now? I'm getting scared. I'm shitting bricks. So then they're like, how could you have shingles? I'm like, well, that's what my mom was just saying. And they was like, when's the last time you got an HIV test? So here we go. Anytime you're young or you black and you go to the doctor and something's wrong, they immediately want to know about if you had an HIV test or an AIDS test, if you're negative or positive, because they assume that that would be the reason that you get sick when you're young. This is just how some people are. But anyway, so I'm like, yeah, I recently had a test like maybe 6 months ago. So they were like, everything was good. I'm like, yeah, everything was good. They was like, so have you been doing anything since then? I'm like, nah, I've been actually a good boy. Like, I've been, of course, you got to live, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't doing that, and, you know, that will put me in that situation. So I was like, I was pretty confident that that wasn't the case. So I'm like looking at them like, yeah, well, what the fuck is this? Because I know it ain't that. So they're like, nah, my man, we think it is. So I'm like, nah, y'all crazy. Get the fuck out of here. So there's like, we're gonna do blood work. So they come and they do the blood work or whatever. Now everybody comes. Now I'm sitting there, I'm fucking rubbing my head like, damn, they act like they ain't gonna know what this shit is till they get the blood test. So I know that should take like an hour or two for them to do it. So I'm sitting there just contemplating what the fuck could this be. Next thing you know, that this is the scariest part. I see like 4 people and the doctor come up to me and tell me, they're like, yo, can you come with us? So I'm like, yeah. They're like, all right. So they take me from the emergency room. I'm still in the emergency room, but they take me to like the back of the emergency room. So they sit me down in this room, and then right when I sit down, one of them comes over to me and says, okay, you can't leave this room, you're being quarantined. Immediately I thought a dying light in the quarantine zone. I'm like, wait, what? I'm turning into a zombie? What do you mean? Why am I being quarantined? They were like, we believe you have shingles and someone shouldn't have that, and that's contagious. And we believe it's because you may have contracted HIV. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck are y'all telling me? So I'm like, I have shingles and HIV? What the fuck did I do to get all this shit? So they're like, yeah, that's what we believe. And I'm like, yo, how could it be? I know my history. I know that I'm not somebody that's in that situation where that should have happened. I'm like, fucking Eazy-E or some shit. Like, I'm like, what's going on? So they're like, okay, this is what's gonna happen. So we're gonna quarantine you. You cannot leave. I immediately get on the phone like a little baby. I call my mom. I said, Mom, they're telling me that they think I got HIV. And she starts laughing because my mom knows how I am. So she's like, wow, really? She's like, they really think it's this and that. I'm like, yeah, they think this what's going on. So she was like, no, wait till they get the blood work and then we'll find out. My mom was like very confident because she knows how I am. So I'm like, you know, and once again, I get calm again. And then some cool ass dude comes in. He's like, yeah, man, I'm the eye doctor. I just want to look at your eye. He was real cool, this cat. I wish I remembered his name, but he was just like completely, you could tell he didn't work at that hospital. They must have called him from somewhere else. So he comes, he's like, yeah, let me look at your eye, man. Let me, you know, check it out. Now I kept trying to put on my hat and they were like, nah, take that shit off. I'm like, okay, so all these pretty girls got to walk by and see pus oozing out the side of my face. Very nice. So he's like, yeah, well, tell me what went on leading up to this. So he's like, just tell me everything from when it started. I was like, well, it started Thursday. He was like, Thursday morning when you woke up. I was like, nah, I was good. I went to work. Everything was cool. I had a little bit of an allergy going. He was like, was it any puffiness? I was like, nah. He's like, when did the puffiness start? I said, well, honestly, the puffiness started after I came from the barbershop. So it didn't click in my head that it was something that may have happened at the barbershop till I was talking to this dude. So he's like, well, what did you do at the barbershop? So he was like, nothing. He's like, are you allergic to anything? I was like, nah, normally everything's good. Just a little itch here and there from the dead hair. So he was like, did anything different happen? And right away when he said different, I thought about when the barber said he wanted to do the blackout. And I said, yeah, oh shit, I just remember, yeah, something different did happen. He was like, what was that? I was like, yo, he has some black organic shit he said he wanted to put in my hairline. He's like, he put it in your hairline where he actually was cutting you with the clippers? I was like, yes. He's like, now think, did you scratch there? And I thought about the time I was scratching with the keys and I put 2 and 2 together. I said, yo, I was scratching my hairline with my keys. He was like, there you go. You were scratching your hairline with the keys and you got an infection from it, from the stuff he put in your hair. He was like, that's what's going on here. He was like, I did look at the blood work and there's nothing in your blood work. I was like, oh, so I don't have shingles or HIV? He started laughing. He's like, nah, I'm sorry they did that to you, man. That must have been scary. I said, that was the scariest fucking time of my life, dog. They have me sitting there thinking, what the fuck was wrong with me for like an hour? So he was like, yeah, my bad, man. He was like, look, you're clearly you're having an allergic reaction to the stuff he put in your hand. You got an infection from scratching your hairline and you must have cut it open and it got in there and it gave you an infection. He's like, all you need to do is just take some antibiotics. As a matter of fact, I could give you some antibiotics here that'll make you feel better. So they gave me some antibiotics. He went and got some kind of like pills and he gave them to me. He's like, take these right here and just lay down for a little while. You'll feel a little better. And he's like, just take them for however long and you'll be fine. It'll clear right up. Sure enough, I was chilling, laying there. He was like, let me get the paperwork and we're going to discharge you. I'm like, right now? He was like, yeah. I was like, so I'm not quarantined? He was like, nah. He starts laughing. You know, he thinks this shit was hilarious. We both was like, this shit crazy the way they overreacted. Telling me I had HIV. You know how scary that shit was? So he goes and he gets the discharge papers. While he's doing that, I'm relaxing, taking the medicine. Of course, to discharge me, it took like another hour or two. So he comes back and then he's like, yeah, man, you know, Mr. So-and-so. I ain't saying my last name. Y'all can figure out my last name, but I ain't saying it. It's actually part of my YouTube name. That's my real government name. So anyway, so he's like, yeah, here you go. You know, sorry about that. He was like, yeah, just take the antibiotics for like 4 days. It should be clearing up actually tonight. It was just, he's like, it was minor. It's just that because of where it was, that's why I was having the pus. He was like, my body was fighting it and trying to get it out. And he explained everything to me. And this was the eye doctor. So I was like, all right, cool, man. So I was like, I was grateful. So then all those other people who was telling me I had shingles and HIV, of course, now they don't want to look at me because they scared the fuck out of me. You know, that was unprofessional, a bad diagnosis. Not every black man that gets sick is sick because he was doing some crazy shit. So I'm like, okay, so I'm not easy eat or none of that. Now I'm not gonna be sitting here with some mysterious ailments. They're like, nah, you good. So I get my discharge papers. I do my George Jefferson impersonation and walk the fuck up on out of there. And then I hit my mom. I'm like, Mom, it was an allergy. She's like, yeah, I know. I figured that, this, that, and the third. And shout out to the moms who be believing in their kids and knowing that their kids ain't no bad boys. You understand me? Because I wasn't out there doing no crazy shit to be in that situation. So, you know, this was a funny story I figured I'd share with you because it was crazy that these motherfuckers was telling me I had HIV. Like, I'm like, I thought they supposed to check first and let you know. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you gonna tell a black man some crazy shit like that when all it was an allergy? They scared the shit out of me, man. They scared the shit out of me. So anyway, it's your boy Jimmybgaming, man. That's a story that I wanted to share with y'all because that was a crazy moment in my life. I got a lot of crazy stories. If you guys want more, of course, just let me know. But for the most part, I just feel like sharing that crazy story with y'all. I'm out of here. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And also share with me some of y'all crazy stories and we'll have some of the craziest things y'all been to. Or been through, or at the hospital, any of that stuff, supermarket, whatever, school. Let me know what's going on with you guys. I'm out here later.